All about Cuba. The country everyone is wondering about. The name Cuba comes from the language of the Taino, an Indian tribe affiliated with the Arawak. The meaning is not precise. It is thought to be related to Cubao, meaning fertile land, or Coabana, meaning wonderful place. There are also those who argue that Columbus gave it this name from a town in Portugal. Cigars are one of the first things that come to mind when you think of Cuba. Just before U.S. President John F. Kennedy signed the embargo on Cuba, he bought 1,200 Cuban cigars for the hard times. Until 2008, Cubans were prohibited from owning cell phones. Cuba is one of the 2 countries in the world where the sale of Coca Cola is officially prohibited. The other is North Korea. Cuba is one of the few countries with the highest literacy rate in the world, 99.8% in Cuba. All kinds of government vehicles have to stop and get them for every hitchhiker who raises a hand. 5% of Cuban people have access to the internet. After the Cuban Revolution, Castro ordered that all monopoly games in the country be burned. Fidel's full name is Fidel Alejandro Castro Ruz. Fidel Castro says he gains an extra 10 days each year by not shaving and growing a beard. In 1940, a 12-year-old Cuban boy named Fidel Castro wrote a letter to then U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, beginning with, "My good friend Roosevelt," asking for a $10 bill, because he had never seen it in his life. Since 1903, the United States has been paying Cuba $4,085 in rent each month since 1903 as the rent for the 120 square kilometer base, pronounced Gitmo, in Guantanamo Bay in western Cuba. Cuba has refused to take this lease since 1959. The name of the famous Cuban cocktail consisting of rum and cola is Cuba Libre, Free Cuba, in all of Latin America, while in Cuba it is Mentirita, lie. The average salary in Cuba was 471 pesos, US $20, as of 2013. The most popular programs of Cuban television, South Korean TV series. On the evening of December 2, 1956, 82 Cuban political exiles aboard the Granma, Nene, docked on the Cuban coast. Most of them were killed in a short time. The few survivors, including the Castro brothers, retreated to the mountains of Sierra Maestra, starting the Revolutionary War. On January 1, 1959, they entered Havana and overthrew the Batista regime. The newspaper of the Cuban Communist Party was called Granma. Buying and selling cars in Cuba was released in October 2011. A month later, the purchase and sale of land was also allowed. The obligation to obtain an exit visa for Cubans wishing to go abroad was lifted on the 16th of October 2012. Cuba has one of the best healthcare systems in the world. It has one of the longest life expectancy in the world with an average life expectancy, 76 years. 22% of Cuba's land is in a natural protection area. Cuba recognized Christmas as a public holiday from December 25, 1998. Cuba's famous rum brand, Bacardi, was moved to Puerto Rico after the revolution. Ernest Hemingway wrote, "For whom the bell tolls" and "The Old Man and the Sea," while living in Cuba. Not a single animal harming human lives on the island of Cuba. Again, there is not a single poisonous plant. The island of Cuba, the 17th largest island in the world, is the most populous island in the Caribbean with a population of 11 million. The most popular sport in Cuba, unlike most football-mad Latin America, is baseball. The name of the highest peak in Cuba is Pico Real del Turquino. It is thought that this name comes from the Spanish turquoise, turqui, due to the images of varying shades of blue on the top.